Welcome to Truth Talk Live.
All right, let's talk.
The truth is, I can't hide it. I can't hold it no more.
A daily program powered by the Truth Network,
This is kind of a great thing, and I'll tell you why.
where pop culture, current events, and theology all come together.
Speak
Your mind.
And now, here's today's Truth Talk Live host.
12 seconds changed everything. Why Your Story Matters. A new book by my friend, longtime friend, Matthew Currin, who has opened his heart up in this book, 12 seconds, getting into trauma, getting into something pretty radical, pretty intense. Matthew, you've really come out and shared your story.
Yeah.
And it's when you look at trauma, when you look at things that have happened to you that have been disasters, just chaos, just really bad chapters in your life, there's a lot of ways to deal with that. There's just kind of trying to forget. There's getting bitter and just, cursing everything and everyone the rest of your life. There's living in the past and never getting through it. And then there's telling your story and helping others through their trauma. And that's the path you've chosen. And come right up on that mic. Thank you so much for being with us today and talking about this.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Yeah, like I said, we've been friends for a long time, and this has been a journey of mine, unfortunately, since July 9th of 2001, and that's when the helicopter mishap took place when I was in the Marine Corps, and we were out doing a normal, just nightly training exercise. And so, unfortunately, we had a crash that night and lost 3 Marines, and unfortunately, one of them was one of my best friends. He was my combat crew chief, Clark Beatty. And so really rolled out of that night and found out some things in the days coming a little bit after. And it literally changed my life forever. I found out that the mishap was 12 seconds. That's it, start to finish. 12 seconds, that's how long it took. And after the mishap, I found out about a day and a half later that what had caused that mishap had happened in another squadron about a year and a half prior, just to have a hard landing. Nobody got hurt, didn't mess up the helicopter, but what caused that mishap, they kept it a secret inside of that squadron. They didn't tell everybody. It was less than a 2-minute fix. We could have unscrewed one bolt in our helicopter, screwed in another bolt, and what caused the mishap where we lost 3 Marines would have never happened. So we wouldn't be sitting here right now. But it happened, and we lost 3 incredible Marines that night. And it set a new path really to my life. 25 years ago, this past July 9th, 25th anniversary of losing these guys.
Wow. So it happened, and the question is, how does that define you, or how do you respond in the ensuing years? And you have responded valiantly. I got to tell you, I've known you and your family for years. Our daughters, danced together,
absolutely.
Competed. Our wives are friends. We're the dads of dance. Hashtag
dads of dance. That's
right? An elite fraternity friends. If you're not familiar, I'm telling you, we have traveled many places to many of those programs to see little medals passed out and trophies.
Absolutely.
And convention centers and hotels and conferences. But God brought us together through all that, but in a deeper way as I got to know you and a little bit about your story and how this right here could have been buried and could have just been a bitterness that you never talked about.
Yep.
Losing your best friend, losing 2 other comrades, in addition to that, colleagues, in just a 12-second traumatic event. Now, so there's going to be some truths and some things that resonate with a whole lot of people out there, because you've discovered since then that a lot of folks have had, whether 12 seconds, 12 months, 12 years, 12 minutes of trauma.
Yeah.
And you're really trying to bring others out to bring some healing.
Absolutely. Yeah, you said it right, is so many people respond to trauma in so many different ways. And the big questions are, do you fall backwards like we talked about, like you said a minute ago, or do you fall forward? And, unfortunately, with a lot of veterans like myself, a lot of veterans fall into, maybe alcohol abuse or different things. but it's how you respond to the trauma and how you can support each other through the trauma. I've probably spoken on stage telling the 12 seconds 500 plus times. It's a story that I tell a lot in the speaking world for companies and everything, churches, it doesn't matter, but I tell the story. But what ends up happening that's always amazing is that I might be talking about a military helicopter accident. People take it and tie it to their life. Let me give you one example. I was speaking at Duke University a number of years ago at a big medical conference, 500 people out in the audience. I'm talking to, and you know this, I used to fly for air medical for Wake Forest Baptist. So I'm there and I'm talking to, doctors, trauma nurses. I'm talking to people, air medical crews. And afterwards, the people that came up to talk to me afterwards, they didn't want to talk about working in a trauma bay. They wanted to talk to me about their marriage, their relationships, and parenting. And so, it really made me think about it quite a lot, is that we all have a story. We all have something to share. Sometimes people have these traumatic incidences. So can we help each other work through it? Can we share our story for the good of others? And that's really what led me to, continue to share and just really try to help each other understand that you have something that you can share. And maybe the way to get through it is to share your story. And that's what I really love to help people with and talk to them about. And I do it through telling my story.
And you've sold us a bunch of these books. 12 Seconds Changed Everything is the book, subtitle Why Your Story Matters. Matt Currin is the author, longtime friend of mine. Matt, did you ever think you'd actually have a book and be on a national radio show talking about this thing?
Well, no, not really. But, I'm the type of person that I believe that we can all make a difference. And if you really believe in yourself, you believe in, I made a promise. Let me back up. I made a promise to Clark Beatty. That's my friend, Sergeant Clark Beatty, who lost his life. I made a promise to him that I would not let his story die, that I would go out and I would tell his story and I would make a difference. And so because I am so into that story and that promise that I made, that I feel like that, did I believe it? Well, it's great to be here, but I do believe. I believe that his story should be heard by everybody. And that's what you got to do. You just got to believe in yourself and keep going.
Yeah, a book about 12 seconds has 12 chapters. Chapter 1, Life. Chapter 2, 12 Seconds Changed Everything. I want to go through each of these with you. I want you to give us a one-sentence description in the next segment, okay?
Yeah. All right.
We're going to talk about how you have battled all kinds of things beyond just that tragedy of over 20-plus years ago.
Yeah.
You've battled cancer. You've battled family things. Your kids, your daughters, your wife, they've stood with you, other family members. You've met some new friends along the way. You've started a whole social media network.
Yeah.
And now you've written a book to bring other people into this thing and to bring healing.
Yeah,
and ultimately bring people to the Lord, right? Because He's the source of all healing.
He is the source of all healing.
So we're going to go through all of this, Matt. What would you say your biggest goal for this book? You want someone to read this book, and then what? What do you want to happen in their life as a result?
To understand that life's not easy. We're not here on this earth to that cartoon or that drawing where it's a straight line from us down here to God, to heaven. And then you see the one below it where it's up and down, it's down in the river, it's a mountain, it's climbing. Well, that's that's life. And people need to understand that today might be a bad day, but tomorrow's a new day. Yeah. And as long as we have faith in our God, we can go through anything.
Yeah, the Christian life is not a cruise ship. It's a battleship, right?
It's a battleship.
It's not a playground. It's a battleground. And this is from a guy who's fought in the military. You're training to be a warrior, and you had this awful thing happen. So I want to go back to that day when we come back, and I want to talk about more about this book and track through these chapters. And I also want to talk to the people out there who have battled with trauma. Yeah. People who are struggling like this. They're having a hard time listening to us right now just because it conjures up memories. I mean, I'm sure you have that happen, don't you? You're just in the middle of your day and all of a sudden you just relapse back into it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it happens all the time. And I don't make it through a talk on stage without crying. It just happens. It's 25 years later and it's still just raw. Still here.
Okay, we're coming back. Grab your Kleenex box. We're going to get real. We're going to get raw. We're going to talk about 12 seconds to change everything, the whole story, right here with my buddy Matt Currin. Go through his book. When we come back and talk about how God can bring you through your trauma, no matter how bad it is, on Truth Talk Live. Don't touch that dial. More coming up right after this.
Truth Talk Live.
12 seconds changed everything. It's the title of a new book, a real story from a real man who had a very traumatic event, really a patriot, really a guy who I've always referred to as one of my heroes, and known him and I've known his family for years. Matt Currin took a lot of heart to write this book. How long did you work on this thing?
Oh, it was over a year, and we'll get towards the end where I basically rewrote some of it.
Okay.
After something that happened, we'll get that's towards the end. But yeah, it was over a year, and I'd write it, and I'd go away, and I'd write it, and I'd come back and just continue just to write it and press through it. But it took a year. Yeah. A
year to write a book, about 12 seconds, really.
Yeah.
But what is it about that time? Take us back to that day. We have a couple callers that may want to be calling in and have some questions before we get to those callers. Take us to that moment, 20-some years ago.
Yeah, it was 25 years ago. We were supposed to go out and do some night vision goggle bounces, exercise, because we were going out on the ship the next week. We were working up to deploy. And
You're Marines.
I'm a Marine, yep. So I'm a Marine pilot, flew the CH-46 Echo helicopter, troop transport helicopter. So this night that we went out, I was supposed to be teaching one of the younger guys to do practice shipboard landings. We got delayed a little bit. I went in to sign the book. My combat crew chief, Clark Beatty, who was supposed to be in the back of my helicopter, was standing in what's called maintenance control, and that's where I signed for the aircraft. And that's like getting the keys to the rental car. And so I was like, hey, bro, give me the book. And he looked at me and he said, hey, we're not flying together tonight, but we'll be together tomorrow night. He goes, I'm staying on the other aircraft. And that was the last time I talked to him. So I went out, met the new guy, Sergeant Salah. We took off, they took off, and we were going down to the LHA deck to do some practice shipboard landing. Basically, you'll read it in the book, but they turned on what was called the red cockpit dome light. And that dome light made the night vision goggles do what's called blooming out. You can't see out of the goggles, but you can still fly the helicopter. It's flying. And basically what happened is classic human error. Everybody focused on turning the light off. And they estimate from the time the light switch got turned on to the time that the light they hit the water, it was 12 seconds. And basically everybody focused on turning the light off, like I said, and the helicopter just flew straight down into the water.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many were on board the aircraft?
So there was 5. The 2 pilots ended up surviving somehow, and the 3 crew chiefs that were in the back all perished in the accident.
And those are your buddies?
Yeah. I mean, when you're in a military squadron, especially, there's never been a unit for me in my military experience like HMM 365 out of New River, Jacksonville, North Carolina. We were tight. We were a tight-knit squadron, but we've even been tighter after this because of the loss of these 3 gentlemen. And it crushed our soul, to lose 3 of our peers. Like that. And so, yeah, it was extremely hard on each and every one of us.
How did you even get out?
So it wasn't my helicopter.
Okay.
My helicopter, we had landed on the LHA deck because he had switched from my helicopter to the other helicopter. So he was in that other one, but he was supposed to be in mine. And so I got a new crew chief that had just gotten to the squadron named Sergeant Salah. First time meeting him, we were flying together, but they had switched, which gets into a whole different story of, when you talk about PTSD and you talk about moral injury, because he has a lot of survivor's remorse because he was supposed to be in the other helicopter, not Clark. So it makes you explore all those different topics. But yeah, so my helicopter, we were sitting on the LHA deck when they went in and landed in the water.
You saw it.
We didn't see it. We weren't looking. We were talking inside of our helicopter. I was instructing. We were teaching and talking about what was going on. But I saw a flash of light, but there was lightning off in the distance. And I remember seeing this flash of light, and then I asked the gunny in the back, I said, hey, gunny, can we lift? And when I said that, he said, did they call departing? And I was like, no. And he said, come up now, they're in the water. And basically I lifted the helicopter, kicked it around, and the helicopter was there sticking up out of the water. It was pretty shallow in the New River. And yeah, they had crashed. And so we became immediately then, we were the on-scene commander for our peers. So you can imagine going 0 to 200 in a matter of, a second, and the adrenaline and all that, because they were there, they were crashed, and we went in to try to get them out of the water. We were able to get the 2 pilots out, but not the 3 crew chiefs. They were lost inside of the helicopter crash.
Wow. So it turned into a rescue effort at that point.
Yep.
Wow. So that 12 seconds really changed everything, and you wrote a whole book about it. I want to go through the chapters. I want to go a little more into really what's happened after that is even more remarkable, and how you pivoted from that, how God really poured into you. You got a counseling degree. I mean, your life is like unbelievable. Like, how does this guy do all this? But you see a great God behind you. We do have a caller. B is a caller from Ohio. Let's put him on the air with us. Jump on in here, B. You got a question for our special guest, Matt, in his book, 12 Seconds Changed Everything. Trauma. How do you deal with it, sir?
I would like to read this book, Brother Stu, and I want to thank you, Matthew, for writing it, taking a hard experience in your life and turning it into something that others that you wouldn't even meet can benefit from. And it's making me think of a Bible verse, Matthew, Romans 8:28. All things, even the bad things, work together for good. Them who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So I know everybody in Truth Talk listening to this radio show right now is probably identifying as you're talking, as you and Stu are talking, saying, wow, finally somebody gets me. And I just want to say thank you for reaching out with this book, because there's folks out here that's listening right now, just listening to you, haven't read your book yet, Matt, saying, I need to deal with my trauma. Stu, I've got so many personal stories, I won't bother you because we don't have enough time in the show. But I just want to say God will bring you through, just like he brought Matt Currin through the trauma. And you have to fix, and Matt, I would love to hear this, and I can take the rest off the air. What did you practically do, sir, to get you through, especially your buddies who has that survivor's remorse? I've got one of those issues in my life, Matt. What can you practically tell us to do, maybe from your book or something that you learned after you had sent it to the publisher? What can we actually do out here in Truth Talk Live radio show land to get through our personal traumas? What's some consistent general things we can do? And I'll take the answer off the air.
That's a great
God
question.
bless you,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Stu. Thanks, Stu.
Yes, sir. God bless you. Yes, sir. What about it, Matt?
Yeah. Well, I think we need to understand that we all have a story and we all have something shared. Everybody has the ups and downs in life, and it becomes so important that we are there for each other. I think when you look at moral injury, and if people aren't familiar with moral injury, the topic of moral injury is survivor's remorse. It's why did I survive and my peers did not? It's the guilt of whatever the trauma was. So you have the trauma, the actual event that goes on, and then you have the aftermath, the moral injury. And that's what really gets people, is a lot of times is that the guilt that goes along with it. So you're not alone. And it's up to us to be there for each other. And that's why I find it so important to share the story of this, is to let people know that we have hope, and you have to know that you have hope. I know that Clark Beatty is looking down, and he's probably my biggest cheerleader, saying, go and tell the story and make a difference in people's lives. And so, yeah, there is that survivor's remorse, but there also is that support that we can give each other. We can, as a counselor, the most important thing we learn is how to listen. And so we can be there and listen to our fellow, Christians and our fellow veterans and whoever it might be. And I think we forget that sometimes, and we go into a world of isolation, and we need to learn how to fall forward, right? Denzel Washington talks about it in a great inauguration speech. Learn how to fall forward and let that past go. Doesn't mean you can't learn from the past. Doesn't mean you don't carry on the past. I still do, but you got to go. We're
going to go into each chapter in depth when we come back. Be sure you download the whole podcast later. Best way to get the book, Matt, real quick before we take this break.
Yeah, Amazon.com is really where it's at.
Okay.
So go in there and search 12 Seconds Change Everything, Why Your Story Matters, and you'll find it.
Okay, by Matthew Currin, Currin. More with Matthew and a blow-by-blow, step-by-step through the book after this. Hang on.
Interesting how people deal with it.
How do you respond to trauma? Life is full of trauma. People are in war zones right now. People have had accidents. People have had crimes committed against them. People have been in wartime situations. My friend Matt Currin watched it firsthand, lost some good buddies in an incident that was literally 12 seconds. So he wrote a book about it called 12 Seconds Changed Everything. Why your story matters. Had a great caller just commending you for doing this, Matt. What a brave thing to do, to write about this, because really you're trying to help other folks. You know, 2 Corinthians says we can comfort people with the comfort God's given us in our trials. So often we internalize, we grow bitter, we struggle so much, depression sets in, we get chemical abuse and other things happen, and that's sadly not the way to deal with trauma, but that's where a lot of folks are living, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. That's where a lot of people go there. I talk to people all the time, you know, as a counselor, and I talk to people all the time, and they're living in their past, and they can't seem to bury the past. Unfortunately, bad things happen. We know that. Good things happen as well. But can we learn how to, you know, learn from our life lessons learned and move forward in a positive way? And, you know, help others and do great things with it. You know, sometimes it's easier said than done, but there's a way to do it, you know, if we're leaning on each other and leaning on God.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's just blow through these chapters. You got 12 chapters on 12 seconds, and we're not going to give too much because we want people to get the book, obviously, to read it and be blessed and share it with their family, their friends. You may know someone ex-military that just can't talk about what happened over there.
Yeah.
Whether it was Vietnam, whether it was another world war, maybe it was Desert Storm, or this book would be a blessing to them, because what's going to happen when they read it?
Yeah, well, they're going to relate. That's the most amazing things about this, is that it doesn't matter who you are. People relate to the book and whatever it is that they're in their journey in life. It doesn't just talk about my time in the military. You know, I've been in the military. I've been an air medical pilot. I'm still a pilot today. And, you know, there's lots of life ups and downs that don't just have to do with the 12 seconds.
Wow. Let's go through those. So, chapter 1, you have 2 parts. Part 1 is resilience, faith, and rising above. Chapter 1, life. Give me like a one sentence on each of these real quick. Pop.
Life's not easy, you know, and you have to have faith and hope.
Okay. Chapter 2, 12 seconds changed everything.
Yeah, I go through the story in depth, you know, minute by minute. You're going to feel like you are there as part of it.
Okay, very good. Chapter 3, picking up the pieces and laying a foundation.
Yeah, so picking up the pieces and laying the foundation. It happened July 9th, 2001. September 11th happened a couple of, months later, and we're off. I head straight to Afghanistan. So I'm in Afghanistan starting November 2001. So I go through that, and leading up to that, there's some other stories, and yeah.
Okay, I want to stop there because a lot of folks don't connect the moving on part. A lot of our first responders, military like you, they see things that no human should ever have to see, and they've still got to go home at night. They still got to go get dinner for the family. They have another mission they got to clock into like the next day.
Yeah.
And you see it in war movies, but that's very real.
No, it's very real. I mean, as a military officer and a military pilot, you learn how to compartmentalize like nobody's business. Yeah. You learn how to turn things on and turn things off. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's part of the business. It's part of what you have to do.
And James 1 says, count it all joy when you go through various trials. It's like an ongoing. Fiery trials are all around us, 1 Peter 1. And so the question is, how do we work through, how do we connect deeper with Christ, the source of hope and joy, through all these things that are things that are supposed to be working together for good.
And you'll see Christ in some of my stories, how in Afghanistan and all that. Yep. He was there.
Okay, you got a lot of scriptures in this book too, which I like.
Yeah.
Okay, chapter 4, moments in time, one sentence.
Yeah, moments in time, that's where we're getting into the missions, the real deal.
Okay.
Yep.
Chapter 5, a spark for change.
Yeah, so I had to, you in military, you do your job, and then you go on to what's called a B-billet. And so I was a flight school instructor, and I, met people and went to a great church, and it marked change for me.
Fantastic. Chapter 6, real life, real people, real experiences.
Yeah, I started recognizing there's something more, something more than just what's going on in my life. And real life, real people, or experiences. We all have a story.
Chapter 7, the crossroads.
Yeah, the crossroads is I got medically retired. I went out and was working still in the V-22 Osprey program. One day I had a job, the next day I didn't. And, there's a great story in there, really get into. I tried to step out on my own, do some stuff, and had some bad business partners.
Wow, that's a good chat. A lot of folks are out of jobs. A lot of folks lose their job. A lot of folks are expecting the trauma of coming in and saying, hey, you're no longer needed here, or your whole department's been downsized.
And
so
that's it.
You talk about how to handle that. Chapter 8, the power of vulnerability and resilience.
Yeah. So it's okay. That's where you have to time to make a choice. You can live in your trauma. I could have been bitter. I could have been mad, or you can start to move forward.
Very good. You could have taken it out on your family. A lot of families suffer from maybe a veteran who had some horrible things happen that just turned alcoholic and turned abusive.
Absolutely.
And so getting to the core of healing is so important, which is a real cool path that you offer in this book. Okay, part 2, connection, community, and purpose. Why do you shift? Why are there 2 parts to this book?
Yeah, there's 2 parts because I made a promise to Clark, and I said, I'll always tell your story and make a difference. I have this thing called Convene Communities. I have this online platform, like you mentioned earlier, and it was, I stopped one chapter and I really started moving forward and building it. And it kind of gets into a little bit of the story of why it's important that we are there to support each other.
That's terrific. Chapter 9, from a vision to a platform, a new beginning.
What I find in life is that a lot of people have a story, a lot of people have a vision, and they just don't have the grind to go out and do it and to stick with it. And so I talk about what it takes.
Okay, chapter 10, we all have a story to share.
Yeah, that's one of the main things in my life is everybody has something that they've gone through. I always do my hands, interconnect my fingers, and I always say, we think we're walking alone. We are not walking alone. We have God, and we have other people that have gone through similar things.
And that's really the whole idea of God taking our test, turning it into a testimony, our mess turning into a message.
Yeah.
The catastrophe can be a great narrative of God's work if we're willing to get outside of ourselves. That's the tough part. If we're willing to say, hey, you know what, there's a bigger meaning. At some point in this whole process of grieving, of having to break the news to this guy's widow, who's your best friend, of going through all this, going back on mission, dealing with this, trying to piece it together as a younger man, God put in you to say, hey, I'm going to leverage this to help others who have faced trauma.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's really what it's about.
Chapter 11, turning the corner from Air Medical to Penske and the official launch of Convene, which is going to let the cat out of the bag a little bit about what my buddy Matt's up to now.
Yeah. So I flew Air Medical, 659. You'll see that reference a lot. I flew 659 patient flights while I was flying Air Medical. Watched a lot of people's lives change on a dime. And then I was in the right place, right time when Team Penske NASCAR needed a new helicopter pilot. So I'm the Team Penske helicopter pilot, but I also fly 2 jets, Gulfstream 280 and a Gulfstream 150 for Roger Penske.
Oh my! Chapter 12, the ripple effect.
Yeah, we can make a difference. It's like tossing the rock into the water. If we believe in ourselves and believe in our story, we can make a difference.
So, folks, did you hear that? Matt comes on a radio show, national radio show, which will make this broadcast into a podcast. It'll download here in a couple hours, and Grayson will have it up. He does a great job. We'll probably title it the same title as the book to give you some creds and some more dubs and some more exposure. But you deciding, I'm not going to sit in my closet. I'm not going to just kind of drown in a puddle of tears. And it's not bad to have tears. It's not bad to mourn. But you said, I want to help others with this. I'm going to take this as like judo. I'm going to take this and leverage it so that the enemy doesn't have his day. The enemy has not won here. God is the victor.
Yep.
And Christ suffered the ultimate trauma. Think about that. If Christ, without the trauma he faced on that cross, without the perfect life, the perfect death, the resurrection, where would we be?
Where would we be?
This is a story of redemption, and God's using now all these little meta-narratives or mini-narratives in our life as redeeming stories to share the gospel. Because Matt Currin, you can't save anybody. A book can't save anybody. But you sure as all get out can point them to the one.
Absolutely.
Who suffered for you, who's been there, who endured the cross.
Absolutely.
Despising the shame, is now set forth setting at the right hand of God for the joy set before him, Hebrews 12:2. Now, interesting epilogue here, which you and I talked a lot off the air because you were kind of catching me up on some stuff since we last talked. Find your 12. Speak to that real quick.
Yeah, so, Jesus didn't find the perfect 12 people. They were sinners. They were all kinds of things. And so none of us are perfect. There's only one perfect person, right, Stu? And it's not me or it's not you. We're all sinners, and we need to trust in, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And so we can go out and find our 12. We can find people that we can lean on, that we can be with, that we can support each other, and that we can go out and spread the gospel just like we're charged to do. And we can share our stories, and we can make a difference in people's lives. God wants us to be good human beings and to lift each other up, and that's what we're charged to do. And that's really kind of what Find Your 12 is about.
I love it. You've got quotes all throughout here. You've got great Bible verses, Matt. This is a real blessing. The book is 12 Seconds, Changed Everything. The subtitle, Why Your Story Matters. I love the cover. It's got you looking at that big helicopter, and you think a lot about that day, literally almost 3 decades ago now, about what happened that day. I'd love to ask this question, Matt, to guests, especially that have written this. Of course, you've battled with. Can you talk about that? Your cancer battle, and I mean, you've had something.
So that's interesting. That's a good story. It's okay. I have a daughter who's in medical school, and I'll get to her in just a second. She's a 4th-year medical school.
I've seen that girl grow up.
Yeah, you have at Georgetown, and so it was Thanksgiving weekend. I thought the book was done. I just had a couple of people read it. We had slapped the table. Book's done, and so I was getting tested. So here's my PSA about getting your PSA checked. If you are a man, I'm only 54 years old, but one great thing that Penske does is say, get your medical test, get your test for, because we're pilots. Well, my PSA kept creeping up and creeping up and creeping up. But doctor would say 90-10, you don't have cancer, you don't have cancer. And so I decided to get a biopsy, and I got that done the day before Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving Day came, and it was Friday, and I was actually dropping a check in the bank, and boom, right there, my chart came up, so my results were in. And I looked at the results, and the first 6 biopsies, the first 6 cores, just normal, nothing. And then the next 6 cores, it said cancer. That's the first word, cancer. And I'm looking at it, and I drive home. I walk into our house. My wife's in there. I turn the corner, and it's my wife, 31 years of marriage. She looks at me. I've been with her 34. She looks at me and says, what's wrong? She knows just by looking at me. And I said, I have cancer. And she goes, all right, we're going to work through it. And I can tell the rest when we come back.
Well, actually,
cliffhanger.
12 Seconds Changed Everything. Get the book at Amazon.com by Matthew Currin. Obviously, God's brought you through that battle. Praise the Lord.
Brought me through.
And there's more in the book about all of this, right?
Yes.
And the rest of the story is in here.
The rest of the story is in there
12
about
chapters.
the cancer journey.
Yes. God bless you,
journey.
man. Thanks for sharing all this with us, man, for blessing us and gracing us with your story today.
Yeah.
What a treat.
Yeah.